Hello and welcome to a slightly different version of Artist Diaries. Today I thought I would shove together a load of video footage and painting time lapses from the past month or so because I have been a bit useless with making videos on time and I have lots of time lapses and things to share with you that are just sitting on my phone, so I'm going to try and put them all together in this little monthly catch up and hopefully that works and it makes an interesting video. This month has been a bit of an odd one, which is probably why this video is also going to be a bit of an odd one too. The focus has definitely been on miniature paintings. I've done several of those and you might have seen some of them in previous videos on this channel. And the other focus has been trying to gather together as much painting inspiration as is physically possible because spring is my favorite time of year and I don't want to waste any of it. So I've been trying to go out as much as I can, taking photos and video footage so that I have plenty of things to paint for the rest of the year and maybe beyond that. So yeah, this is my very rambly way of introducing this video, which is going to be a compilation of that video footage and painting time lapses. And we might also ramble about some art topics in the background as well. So I'm going to make myself a cup of tea while I do this voiceover and let's get into it. When I first started oil painting, one of the things I used to struggle with quite a lot was coming up with the initial ideas for a painting. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to paint all of the time. And that seems really daft now because now I have so many ideas and not necessarily the time to paint them in, but it was definitely a struggle back then. And I think there are a few reasons for that. I didn't have a huge amount of reference material. I hadn't been taking photos with the intention of painting them. A lot of the time I was using royalty-free images. So I would spend a really long time just scrolling and scrolling through my phone for inspiration, not being able to decide on anything. And I would waste all of my painting time doing that and then not be able to paint anything, which was very frustrating. It took me perhaps longer than it should have to realize that one of the reasons I might be struggling to decide what to paint is that I wasn't actually spending any time searching specifically for reference material. Whenever I had the opportunity, I would always prefer to paint. If I had the spare time, that was what I would enjoy doing the most. And I felt like if I wasn't painting, then I was wasting that time, and so that's what I should be doing. And that led to a few problems because if all you're doing is working and then painting and you're not really making any time for anything else, then you're quickly going to run out of inspiration because you're not going to be doing any of the things that inspired you to paint in the first place. When I look back to that time when I first started oil painting, I definitely realized that I was cutting back on the amount of time I was spending in nature because I wanted to paint more. But spending time in nature is what inspires me to paint in the first place. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to prioritize spending time on other hobbies because that's where all that creativity is going to come from. So I am trying to go out on walks, I'm trying to visit lots of wildlife places so that I can stockpile all of this great reference material and I have that inspiration to paint from. The footage from the start of this video is from a trip that I took at the end of April to North Yorkshire in search of butterflies and painting inspiration, and it was just incredibly beautiful. And I painted a miniature painting from this scenery, but I have also stockpiled a lot of other photos and video footage, so it will hopefully be a source of inspiration for a really long time. I definitely used to feel a little guilty when I spent time doing these trips in the past. I felt like I should be spending all of my time painting, so if I was out enjoying myself, then it seemed like I wasn't working hard enough. But this is such a huge part of the process for me now. If I don't go out and find this inspiration, then I don't have anything to paint. And it's taken a long time to start understanding that. One of the things that's helped me to appreciate this time a bit more has been making these artist diaries. Initially, it was hard to spend a day searching for inspiration instead of painting because I would constantly be feeling you're wasting time and you should be painting and you should be being more productive. But Artist Diaries worked as a really nice first step. It was this middle ground where I had an excuse to go outside and spend time in nature because it was part of a YouTube video that I'd be making, and there would be a painting at the end of it. So it still kind of felt like it was work related, that I wasn't just slacking off and going on a day trip, that I was doing it with the intention of painting. Now I don't feel like I need to make an artist diaries every time I go outside. Now I can go and just enjoy nature because I understand that it's such a huge part of my process. But artist diaries definitely help to bridge that gap. It can be a bit more challenging taking this step back and focusing on other hobbies when you are wanting to be an artist as a career or you want it to form part of your job. I know that definitely made it a bit more challenging for me. I always felt like I should be working at it all the time. But spending this time doing other things and going out into nature is making me a better artist overall. When I would spend all of my time painting, I would waste such a lot of that time just scrolling through my phone trying to find something to paint. I'd end up getting frustrated because I couldn't find something or painting something that wasn't that great because I just felt like I had to settle. And it wasn't a very productive time for me, even though I was focusing all of my attention on painting. Now, even though I'm spending more of my time outside and so I'm not necessarily painting as often, when I do come around to paint, I have so many ideas, and the paintings, I think, are a little bit more successful as a result. The landscape that I'm painting at the moment in this time lapse is from a scene that I have walked past a few times over the past few years, but I've never taken a decent enough photo of it to be able to paint it. But this time around, I went with the intention of looking for reference footage, and so I got to make this miniature painting. Another thing that I have been learning recently is that inspiration is everywhere and you don't necessarily have to go on specific day trips in order to find things. That has definitely been helpful for me doing the trips out for Artist Diaries and looking specifically for painting inspiration. But another thing that I've been trying to do is just look a bit closer to home for painting inspiration, whether that's just objects around the house to do still lifes of, or wildlife in the garden, or even just a self-portrait. If I'm really stumped and I don't know what to paint, then all I need is a mirror or a photo of my face and I can practice my people painting skills. And a lot of the things that I paint now are probably subjects that I would have dismissed back in the day, because when I first started, I always felt like paintings needed to be, I don't know, just a bit more epic than what I found in my back garden or what I found on a local walk. I felt like if I was wanting to paint a landscape, then it should be something really huge with big mountains in the backdrop and a stream maybe and some wildlife. Or if I wanted to do a wildlife portrait, it should be something more exotic, maybe something from a safari or something from a rainforest. It should be something really lovely. And I dismissed a lot of things that were right outside my doorstep, which is ridiculous when you think about it, because they're the things that inspire me every day. The reason I love wildlife is because I like seeing the wildlife close to home, and the fact that it took me such a long time to consider painting it is just a bit daft, really. So what I've been doing now is just really trying to appreciate what's nearby. I'm trying to ditch this idea that landscapes need to be super epic and have all these extra features in them that I don't have close to home. And instead, I'm focusing on the small stuff, because really that's what inspired me in the first place. There's an orange tip down there, but I'm not sure I'm going to get to it before it flies off. Today is such a great example of why this month has been a bit all over the place. and I've not been as organised with painting. I came out today just to film a couple of things that I might want to paint, and I've got so distracted because everything is so lovely and everywhere I look there's more painting inspiration. So instead of this being a quick walk, it's taking a lot longer than normal, and we probably won't get around to editing the video today, but I'm gonna have loads more things to include, so that's something. So right now I'm prioritizing filming as much as possible. I'm getting out and about filming all of the invertebrates that I'm going to miss in the winter time. I'm also filming wildlife close to home and trying to look for wildlife in the garden. There were some bats right outside the house the other night and they were lovely, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to paint them because it was obviously dark. But I'm so impressed with this video footage that I want to share it with you anyway. If you don't like bats, then maybe don't look at this next clip. You can't really see a great deal, but what I love about this is that you can hear the bats, and so yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to paint it, but I still wanted to share it with you. I guess the point of including that video footage is that I wasn't aware how much wildlife was right around the house. I didn't know there were bats out at that time, and I didn't know there were a lot of wildlife outside the house until I started making the effort to look for it, including looking for this little guy that just happened to be right outside the door one evening, just waiting to be painted. And it made a much better painting subject than the bats that were a little bit difficult to see. So I settled on painting the frog for a lovely nocturnal scene. One thing I've realized recently is that collecting reference material is kind of like a full-time job. It never really ends. You just get used to doing it on a regular basis. And when you get into that mindset, I think it's a lot easier. I know when I used to struggle with painting inspiration right in the beginning, it was usually because I would wait until I had the time to paint and then think, oh, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And then it would get a bit frustrating because I would have to go out specifically to look for something that day, and putting yourself under pressure to try and find spontaneous painting inspiration is not usually a good way to start a painting, I have found. But now I try and look for reference material everywhere I go. And that's been particularly important this springtime. I also have quite a bad habit of waiting until it's winter and then deciding that I want to start painting from my own reference material, and then going outside and everything is quite bleak. The leaves have fallen off the trees, everything's a bit cold and damp, there's no wildlife out, or not as much wildlife out. Then I think, why didn't I do this in the summertime when the sun was out and there was a lot more going on out there? And so I am making a conscious effort to really change the way I do things and to try and collect reference material all of the time. It's definitely been helpful looking at this task as more of a marathon than a sprint, and something that I should always be doing in the background. And it can take a little while to change your mindset so that you are constantly looking for reference material, but I feel like once you've done it long enough, it almost becomes second nature. I'm constantly on the lookout now for things that I might want to paint, whether that's when I'm on a walk or if I'm at home and I just look outside and the lighting is particularly lovely outside. Not every painting idea works out. There will be some references that don't quite work in the way that I wanted them to, but it's all still useful practice, and the more inspiration I find, the more paintings I can do, and the more paintings I do, hopefully, the more my skill improves. So we're coming to the end of this time lapse. I'm going to wrap this video up soon because, as usual, I feel like I've rambled quite a lot. But I think a good point to round this up on is to say that my approach to gathering reference material and finding inspiration for paintings is something that has developed over quite a long time. And it was something that I struggled with a lot when I first started, and I didn't really know where to start. But the more I painted, the more I practiced, the more I tried, the better it got eventually. It wasn't something that happened overnight. It was something that took a little while to figure out. So if you are in a similar position and you're struggling for painting inspiration, or you just don't really know where to start, then don't worry. You don't need to have it all figured out straight away. There's plenty of time for that.
And in the meantime, just have a look around you, what's nearby that might inspire you to paint. Even if it's not necessarily the most interesting subject in the world, is there something about it that makes you want to paint it anyway? Maybe there's an object that has a really interesting texture, or you like the way the light shines off of it. Maybe there's a nice new flower in the garden that you can try and paint. I don't know, but you can start out with some simple ideas to begin with just to get the practice in, and then somewhere along the way you might find that you actually discover what it is you really are interested in painting.
Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you next time.